Let's explore today the truth behind why you feel drained every day. Imagine you get 7 hours of sleep, your alarm rings, and you open your eyes, but your limbs feel heavy, your eyes sting, and you stare at the ceiling, realizing you are already carrying a deep exhaustion before your feet even touch the floor. The common response is to look for a better mattress, or buy a different supplement, or plan a vacation. These tactics fail because sleep only recovers physical tissue. It cannot repair a nervous system that is constantly dropping the charge through lack of attention or mental resistance. Today, we'll trace the silent habits draining your battery and offer a practical path to end your workday with enough focus left to actually engage with your life, rather than just sliding onto the couch in silence trying to turn off a mind that can't find the off switch. Consider the morning phone grab. There's a silent transaction that occurs the moment your fingers touch your phone in the morning. It's 6:30 a.m. and you're still warm under the covers. The house is completely quiet. Before you even stretch, your hand reaches for the nightstand and your thumb presses the screen. Within 3 seconds, your brain is flooded. You see an email from a client with a passive aggressive subject line. You see three news headlines about things you cannot control, and you see a message from a team member asking for a decision. Before you have taken the first deep breath of the day, your nervous system has jumped from a state of rest straight into high alert survival. Your battery is already dropping, and your day hasn't even begun. See, you have trained your mind to start every morning at a deficit. It isn't that you lack energy, it's that you are giving it away before even standing up. So why look at this now? In your younger years, your body had the reserve capacity to absorb a morning deficit. Now that reserve is gone, and the bill must be paid in real time. The reality is that our bodies over 40 and into our 50s change over time, and we don't have the physical resilience that we once had. We can no longer rely on quick spikes of cortisol and adrenaline, or even a couple cups of coffee to cover our systematic exhaustion. And many of us experience a midday crash, and that's your body putting on the emergency brake. This became a reality for me as I've grown older into my 40s and now 50s. I realized that I just didn't have the energy all day long. And I noticed that I was crashing, after lunch in the afternoon. I just didn't have the mental wherewithal to take on tasks that I would in the morning. And for me, the best time of the day is usually between 9 and 11:30, 9 and 12. Those are great hours for me. And my sweet spot is 10 to 12. So you may experience a midday crash yourself after an intense morning, especially in how we a lot of times start our days diving right in and seeing what's on tap and what we have to do and looking at communications before we even began to take in some quiet moments and reflective moments and plan out our day. If you're anything like me, I always try to power through that slump and just push through and get the stuff done. But the reality is, if you're already running on a low battery, you're forcing your way through the afternoon only guarantees that your evening will be spent in a state of complete emotional flatness. I discovered that working through the mornings this way, experiencing stress, trying to get through everything, power through, and then moving into the afternoons and experiencing that midday crash, it wasn't working for me. And I realized that I needed different rhythms for my day, a rhythm for the morning, a rhythm for the afternoon that allowed me to be the best version of myself, but also get the most important things done. So let's walk through the exact leaks draining your physical and mental battery, and how emotional masking consumes your daily reserve, and how to plug these leaks without restructuring your business. Many of us experience what's called the open loop drain. It's where incomplete tasks and decisions not made create a constant background drain on our energy. A business doesn't exhaust you because the physical work is hard. It exhausts you because you are carrying 100 unmade decisions in your head all the time. For me, I would have all these little things that I would need to decide or act on? Or how about like all the emails that you begin to look at, but then you say you'll come back to it later. And then you got like 10, 20, 30, or 40 emails just sitting there needing attention, needing to be cleared or snoozed to a scheduled time or deferred to your task manager where you can look at it when the time is right. We carry all those little unmade decisions and all those little items that need to be taken care of that we put off to later. And we carry that as weight throughout the day, throughout the week. And it really saps our mental and emotional energy. You can think of this as open tabs on your web browser. Imagine your brain is like a computer browser with 50 tabs open. Each tab takes a tiny bit of processing power. And when you read an email and decide to deal with it later, you leave that tab open. And when you ignore a hard conversation with an employee, that tab stays open. It creates a cognitive load, and your brain must spend constant background energy to keep those loops from being forgotten. By 2 p.m., your mental battery is drained simply from the weight of holding on to all this unfinished business. The fix is making a firm, concrete decision on a bunch of little items, even a temporary one. It could be just, like I said earlier, scheduling a few emails to a specific time in your day, and then that's when you look at them. I use that sometimes on 3 or 4 email items, and I'll snooze it to like say 11:30 a.m., and then I won't have to look at it again until then. If we can make good decisions and quick, sound decisions regarding a bunch of little items, it really releases the background tension for us. As a counselor or coach, I often look at my messaging and my email quickly around 9 a.m. And it's brief. I just sort through it very quickly to see if there's anybody I need to communicate with. And then I basically put it aside to about 11:30 a.m., 11:45 a.m. I'll come back to it before I start my sessions and deal with anything else or actually communicate what needed to be communicated. This has been a real help to me because I used to be very reactive dealing with communication and messaging, and it would just steal my focus and steal my best thinking time and productivity time. And there are many days I just look at messaging and email late morning and late afternoon, and I'm doing sessions during the afternoon, and I'm also doing my best work in the morning without interruption and without distraction. You might not be able to quite do it that way, but I encourage you to think, are you being reactive in how you're dealing with messaging notifications and when you actually engage email and messaging? The truth is, and the fix is making a lot of little decisions that button up all these little transactions, all these little communications. And the more we can do that, the less weight we carry throughout the day and week. And I just think the best way to do this is schedule your time dealing with email, dealing with messaging, dealing with the small little tasks. And as you schedule that and do that at specific times, you're more likely to be proactive and purposeful in that time versus trying to put out fires and trying to clean the slate all the time. Let's consider the high cost of the mask. And what I mean by that is the emotional energy that's needed and required to perform fine and maintain authority and leadership when exhausted. The most expensive energy you spend all day is the energy it takes to pretend you are not tired. Let's consider the daily expectation of Michael. Michael is a composite picture of myself, a younger version of myself, as well as many clients that I've worked with over the years. He has to show up to meetings looking confident, clear, and high energy. He has to reassure his clients, motivate his team, and keep his voice steady even when he feels anxious and hollow inside. But here's the thing, faking enthusiasm is incredibly taxing on the nervous system. It requires constant self-regulation. And when Michael finishes his last call of the day, he drops the mask and realizes he is absolutely has nothing left for his family or himself. Here's the shift. Real leadership doesn't require performance. It requires presence. When you stop forcing a fake state of energy, you preserve your actual energy. I know I was that guy. I was that Michael. And the reality is I would end my day totally depleted and just not really having a lot of mental and emotional energy. And it wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for my wife and my kids. And I wanted to change that. And so I had to change how I, operated, but really how I went through the day. And I had to take a real good look at where the day started and the rhythms I had in place that moved me through the day. Let's look at the tired but wired paradox. The reality is physical exhaustion doesn't lead to good sleep when the nervous system is on alert. You cannot fall into deep restorative sleep when your brain is still scanning the horizon for threats. And you have all these open loops that are not finished and that are not put to bed. There's something that many of us have experienced, and it's called the 3 a.m. alarm. You wake up in the middle of the night and your body is deeply tired, but your brain is wide awake, running through scenarios and, recalculating numbers and rewriting emails and just doing the next thing on your list. And what we're experiencing is the cortisol block. It's the biological reality that when you stay in stress mode all day, your cortisol levels remain high into the evening, and that cortisol blocks the production of melatonin. You might fall asleep from pure physical exhaustion, but you won't enter the deep restorative phases of sleep. So, what happens is that you wake up tired, you use caffeine and stress to push through the day, and go to bed with a nervous system that is too terrified to shut down. For many months into years, I was trying to figure out, why am I constantly feeling drained every day? And the reality is I was in constant stress mode or threat mode. And I would have cortisol and adrenaline running all day long, and it would affect my sleep at night. And I would never feel fully rested. And I just needed a break. I needed to figure out what was going on with me physically and what was I going to do about the stress that I couldn't get rid of, and how I was going to effectively deal with the stress so I can experience more peace and calm in my life. Many of us experience something called the functional freeze. You see, the functional freeze is a state where you are highly productive on the outside, but completely numb on the inside. You may be crossing things off on your list. You're answering the emails and you're taking meetings, but you feel absolutely nothing. There is no joy in the wins and no real sadness in the losses. Everything feels kind of gray. This is a survival response. It's a protective response from your nervous system. When the body has been overstressed for too long, it shuts down your emotional capacity to protect you from burning out completely. And here's the cost. You are living your life like a spectator, watching yourself perform tasks, but never actually experiencing them. So what do we do with this constant state of feeling emotionally, mentally, and physically drained? What we do is plug the leaks. And I like to provide you with some actionable steps to reclaim energy by closing open loops and setting focused boundaries. Reclaiming your daily energy doesn't require doing more things. It requires stopping the silent transactions that drain your reserve. We can begin with something called the attention cleanse. Start with this simple rule: no phone for the first 30 minutes of the day. Give your nervous system a chance to wake up in safety. A second thing we can do is close open loops. At the end of your day, write down every unmade decision and unfinished task. Get them out of your head onto a paper or note app so you can bring your brain to safety and close the mental tabs overnight. Third thing we can do is slower our cadence. That means intentionally slow your physical movements down by 10% during transitions. That means like lowering your shoulders and taking some deep breaths in and breathing out, and just slowing down a little instead of rushing into the next thing. These three things, these three simple practices can really make a huge difference in how you function throughout your day and helping you feel less stress and less strain from day to day. So here's the question. Are you willing to keep trading your vitality to maintain a business model that exhausts you? I want to invite you to change that pattern. A business that leaves you too exhausted to enjoy your life is a bad trade. True energy isn't something that you have to chase. It is what remains when you stop letting the noise drain you. It is time to reclaim your day. If you've been watching this far, you are likely tired of waking up with that heavy, hollow feeling in your chest. You want your energy back, but you don't have the bandwidth to add another complicated self-care routine to your calendar. That's why I built the Calm in 7 challenge. This is a 7-day window designed to interrupt the physical patterns that drain your battery. You won't find a masterclass or slide decks or a heavy productivity system here. It's a simple 7-day free email challenge where we focus on very short physical practices that you can do at your desk. There's no complicated 5 a.m. morning routines or rigid protocols. This places a small physical wedge between you and constant noise, letting you keep your energy instead of giving it away to every notification. If you're ready to find a different physical rhythm, the link is in the description. It is a practical way to start the work we've talked about today. I'd love to see you in there. And if you'd like to learn more about how to achieve a better work-life balance, check out this video here. This is Dr. Sean. Make it a great day.